Over the years, I have owned and used a couple of the lower end robot vacuum cleaners. I actually owned a DEEBOT years ago that I think I bought off Woot or Amazon or something like that on a pretty heavy discount. Most recently, I've been using the Wise robot vacuum that I found at Walmart for about $150, and those have been varying degrees of quite good. But today, we're going to be looking at something much, much more premium. This is the DEEBOT T30S, and of course today we're looking at the T30S Omni Combo. This is basically like a family of products where you have a more basic version, which is just going to be the robot vacuum, and then this docking station that it can empty itself into and so forth. But then there's also the Combo, which actually has a section to the side for a hand vac. You can see here a breakdown of the different products. There's actually a combo all-in-one, a complete version that actually has an upright vacuum cleaner as well. And like I said, you can see the differences here. You have 11,000 pascals of suction power across all three models, 158 degree Fahrenheit hot water mopping. That's right, this is not just a vacuum. It actually mops as well, and trust me, we're going to test all these things. We're going to get into all of how this stuff actually functions. So like I mentioned, these things have an auto empty, so when the vacuum goes home, it actually empties itself. But with the Combo, it has dual auto empty, because it's not just going to be emptying the robot, it's going to empty the hand vac as well. So I did mention these things are extremely premium. We're starting at $9.99 for the DEEBOT T30S, and the model I have is $11.99, which comes with, like I said, that hand vac. A couple of things I'm definitely going to be testing: zero tangle, anti-tangle technology. I have an Australian Shepherd, and I have long hair, and my wife has long hair, and so that's a big problem with my Wise vacuum, is that roller gets absolutely tangled up with my hair, the dog's hair, my wife's hair, and they've apparently got some solutions to this problem that I'm going to show you a bit later. We're going to see how well it works. True Edge Adaptive Edge Mopping. This is another cool thing. It's got this little roller with a pad on it that it mops with, and apparently they have some method here where that roller can extend itself out and apparently get into the hard to reach places for mopping. You can actually see a little demo video of that here that shows exactly what I'm meaning, and that looks pretty promising. That's a pretty cool idea. The biggest test this vacuum is going to have for me is going to be whether or not it can stand up to her. We made a terrible mistake in having a white floor in the kitchen, and it's near the back door where the doggy door is. And let me just tell you, you can see some stuff in the floor here. I'm gonna have to pick up stuff that's larger than this vacuum is gonna be able to handle. But this little girl gets into trouble a lot, and her favorite thing to do is to go outside in the rain, in the mud, and track it in on this floor. And our floor right now looks atrocious. I have actually been letting it get worse and worse by the day intentionally, so that when this vacuum would arrive, we would really be able to put it through its paces. So my DEEBOT was delivered just the other day, and it came in a much larger box than I was expecting. Yes, this is a big combo thing with a big docking station, but I guess I'm so used to the smaller vacuums with just a tiny little thing that they drive up on, I just wasn't mentally prepared for how big this thing was going to be. The box was very, very large and actually relatively heavy as well. But that being said, the unboxing and the setup process was really not too bad at all. Really, all you had to do was pull off some stickers here and there, install the brush on the bottom of the vacuum. There's a little ramp that kind of gets locked in place in the dock itself, which was, again, very, very easy. And from there, you kind of are done. So we can do the scan to connect thing. And I think what's going to happen here, I think that I just take the lid off of this, and I should be able to scan that QR code. And I've already powered it on. Let's try this.
Bluetooth hotspot has been released.
Maybe that's what I'm looking for. Bluetooth turned on, released. Is that the same thing? You're scanning and it looks like it has seen it. So that is what we're looking for. It doesn't say on, it says released, but that's fine. Go away, Telegram. So this is interesting. Okay, Yiko.
I'm here.
That is very strange. I'm talking to the robot. taking us through a couple of things here. Multiple vacuum brushes for diverse scenarios. Quickly double tap the station button to manual empty. I believe that's the button right there. After using vacuum cleaner for over 30 seconds, instant auto empty. That's pretty cool also. And I think they're talking about this, the actual hand vac. So that's pretty neat. So I think the first thing we need to do is have it actually map the house. So you can see just the little vacuum there, and that's where it's starting. And as it begins to scan around, what I should start seeing is it start to map things out. Looks like it's placed the charging station there behind it, and there you go. It is scanning around. It looks like it's heading down the hallway. Boom, look at that. So it's going to start filling this stuff out. I'm going to let it do its thing, and then we'll pick up and look at the app a bit deeper after that. So it just finished with the room scanning, and it did some pretty interesting stuff here. So at first, it looked like it was missing some things. Things just weren't popping up, and I was like, man, how is it just not going into these corners? It's not seeing these things. But when it finished, it sort of filled things out, and it made a lot more sense. There's only one real mistake that I think it made, and it's this teal and then that kind of red color. Those are not separate rooms. So I need to figure out if I can kind of join those together. But it actually tried to determine where individual rooms were, and it did a pretty darn good job of that. Let's see if I can actually edit these. I think that's the option there. So let's do edit map. And you can see the raw data of where it's scanned. And this is okay, this is great. So you could see where I was like, man, it's missing all kinds of stuff that my WiseBot actually did see, but then it sort of figured it out. You can see where my sectional is there in the living room. So we're gonna do combine room 1, and then that just says room. We're gonna combine those two. Wonderful. Let's leave combine now, and let's see if we name these rooms. Some of these names are definitely regional. Do you have a cloakroom in your house? Let's look through these here. So there's auto clean, which I guess is just going to clean everything. Then there's different modes. Vacuum and mop, water flow rate, cleaning passes 1 or 2. That's really cool. Suction power. You can crank this thing up really, really high. I believe, I had to look at my notes. It's 11,000 PA. Am I wrong, or does PA stand for pascals? We're talking about pressure, right? So I think that's correct. 11,000. So you can crank that thing all the way up. And then there's a cleaning speed as well. We're going to leave it on the standard. And then you could also go by room, so select individual rooms and then start it up. You could also do a zone. So you could just draw a shape there, a square, and it's going to clean it that way. And then there are scenarios that you can kind of come up with. I almost missed this on the first pass. There's this option here that says AI, intelligent hosting, cleaning mode smart. Intelligently generate cleaning settings according to your cleaning habits, histories, floor material, room type, and dirtiness of the floor. If you click here, goes a bit further. It can automatically identify soiled areas and adjust the cleaning parameters accordingly. So I guess it's just going to kind of drive around your house and figure out what's dirty and what's not, what needs to be cleaned. Only clean those stuff and then go back home. That is pretty cool. As weird as it may sound, clean water, dirty water, we need to take this tank out and fill it up. So now that the water is installed, we're going to select rooms, and we're going to go with the kitchen. And this thing should do this stuff automatically. It's vacuum and mop. So we're just going to select, for some reason it says 2 areas are selected, but I think I've only got the kitchen selected. We'll see where it goes, I guess. We're just going to start this thing and see what happens. True area adaptive edge mopping. So we were talking about that earlier. Constantly keep the mop extended to maximize the coverage. And we're going to say, yeah, got it. Kind of want to point this out too. Mopping pad cleaning and water refilling. So I guess it's actually cleaning the mopping pad before it starts. So unlike with the other, robot vacuums I've used, like the one from Wise, that just starts, this thing has a little procedure that it actually has to go through in order to get ready. And it looks like it is ready to go. Couple of things to note here. One, you can see, whoa, it just jumped. You can actually see the path that it is taking, the sort of trail that it's taking to get this done. And second thing is, it's not nearly as loud as I was expecting it to be. We come down here, you can see that floor is just slightly damp as it is doing its mopping. We'll take a look at how it actually does here in a little bit whenever it's done. Here's an interesting thing that I'm actually kind of curious to see. As it goes over this rug, it should lift its mopping brush up. And it did. Look at that. It knew that was not the floor and it didn't need to be mopped, so it lifted it up. Pretty cool. She's not as convinced. Although, I do want you to hear the sound difference between standard and max. Noticeably louder. I want you guys to hear how loud this thing is whenever it's actually emptying the dirty water. You can see it doing its thing there, or cleaning itself out. It is quite loud. If you listen closely, you can actually hear it drying its mopping pads automatically. So when it goes home, not only does it empty out its dustbin, it cleans off those pads as best it can, and then it dries them back off. So the big question, though, is how did it actually perform cleaning my very dirty kitchen floor? And it's a two-part answer. When it comes to sweeping, it did about what I expected. I've been using that Wise vacuum for a while, and I figured if it was able to get up pretty much all of the dirt, well, this thing's going to definitely be able to do the same thing. 11,000 pascals of sucking power. It's going to be able to get all that stuff up, and it did just fine. When it came to mopping, though, on the first pass, I was a little bit underwhelmed. It was definitely leaving a little bit more dirt kind of stuck to the floor than I was hoping for. Now, I may have been asking a bit too much of it. However, there was a setting that I could change which is going to increase the water flow. I figured, why not? I don't have that many places in my house that are going to need to be mopped with this thing anyway, so we'll just increase the water flow. And I had it make another pass, and after that, I feel like I was pretty happy with it. The best way I could describe it would be if you've ever used a Swiffer before, it was basically like I had Swiffered my floor. Not the same as getting out a bucket and an actual mop and scrubbing the floor with a mop. It's not that. It's more in line of, like I said, using a Swiffer or something like that. Now, they do actually apparently sell a cleaning solution you can put into your water to aid the cleaning a bit more. Otherwise, you're just reliant upon the fact that water's been superheated to like 158 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very, very hot. It's using the heat to loosen things up. So keep that in mind. I did not have the cleaning solution with this. It did not send that over for me to test. So all I was using was that hot water. And again, it's about like using a Swiffer. So we definitely need to test how this thing handles a rug, though. And I want to try to do two things here. So not only do I want to test that vacuuming of a rug, I want to test the voice activation. I'm not actually sure if this is how this works or not, but we're going to try. Okay, Yiko.
Yes.
Can you clean the living room? So I think that's working. It is now extracting water out of the clean water tank. It's going to get ready, and I guess it's going to go clean the living room, which, guys, that's pretty cool. And I want to kind of show you guys the state that this rug is in. Again, you guys are just going to think I'm super gross. I have 2 dogs, all right? It's hard. They have a doggy door. It's hard to keep this stuff clean. So this is what the rug looks like right now. So we're going to let it do its thing, and we're going to see how it does. And of course, one of the coolest things about this to me is that it's going to get up in this edge, and it's mopping right now. But as soon as it gets up onto the rug, it will intelligently lift up the mopping pads. As you can see, they're not turning anymore. It's not mopping my rug. How cool is that? All right, so we're back at about the same spot on the rug. And I mean, you can be the judge. I think it did pretty well, though, myself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. But I think it did a pretty darn good job, guys. I also want to point out that in all the vacuuming that it has done, it has not yet left behind one of the Australian Shepherd hair fuzz balls that my Wise vacuum would. It's like it would sort of be accumulating them and making it into a ball, but it just would somehow fail to actually suck that thing up. And when it would be done, there would be 1 or 2 little clumps of fur. I'd use a hand vac and suck them all up, and it would take care of it at that point. This thing, it did leave one behind once, but on the next pass, it sucked it up. So that's pretty impressive. It seems to be handling the rose hair pretty admirably. So now that this thing has actually run a little bit, I want to show you how it's actually holding up. And it's been run quite a few times now. It's done the kitchen floor probably a half dozen times. It's done the living room I think 2 or 3 times now. So this is, pretty good demo here of how this thing's holding up. And the first thing I want to show you are the brushes down here. They can Velcro off so you can actually wash them, but I think that they actually will come out of here like magnetically as well. There we go. Yeah, there's like a little magnetic thing going on there. And you can see that the brush really isn't getting all that dirty because it's washing it. It's cleaning them off and it's drying them whenever it's done. So that is working pretty well. I did actually interrupt it before it finished drying, so they are a little bit wet still, so just ignore that as we're going forward. You can see some like loose hairs sort of scattered around on this thing, but that's not too big of a deal. Let's take a look at the brush though, because that's where that zero tangle technology is supposed to be coming into play. And while I wouldn't say this is perfect, I would say that this is considerably better than what would happen with my Wise robot vacuum. And I think that there's a couple of things I can point out. So first off, they say that the fact that it's V-shaped actually helps with that kind of stuff. I also want to point out that these brushes are softer, and that's probably helping a bit too. They also say that they're anti-static, which should kind of keep stuff from grabbing on. But I think that the biggest thing that's helping out here is inside the robot vacuum. If you look down in here, you see a series of little combs, basically, like little brushes for the brush, a comb for the brush. So as this thing sits in here, as it turns, I guess I don't know which direction it actually turns, as it turns, it is being combed. So hair that's getting stuck in here is being combed out and then sucked inside the robot vacuum, which ideally is going to keep it from tangling up. And I can actually demo for you kind of what that looks like. What we're going to do is we're going to take some thread, which would get very, very tangled in most other vacuums, and we're going to have this thing suck that up. All right, so let's open this thing back up now and see, did any of that get stuck in here? Did any of it, it's all gone. It sucked it all up. Nothing got tangled up. It went straight in. I think that's pretty impressive. Now, I do also want to take a second and talk about the handheld vac, because this is a really nice value add for this thing. I'm going to remove this attachment here. You can see it can slide up and have a little brush. You can literally hear the vacuum going home behind me. Or you can press that button and push it out of the way, and now it's, so those bristles are out of the way. Let's remove that and set that aside so we can get a little bit of a better look at this thing. Fairly sizable canister down here, which can be opened up to be manually empty, but of course, if you drop it down into the dock, it's going to empty itself, which is pretty darn cool. You have a mode button up here at the top that toggles between the full speed, full power, and then like a low power mode. I believe this thing is 14,000 pascals, so even stronger than the robot vacuum itself. Back here, there should be a, yep, there we go, something that shows how much power is left in it as well. And we also have this attachment for brushing, and I like the fact that it can actually change its angle, and I was really impressed with how well this worked on a rug here in the studio. I really, really like the value add of this handheld vacuum, and there's honestly one really big thing that I love about it. The fact that it docks into the same dock to charge and to empty itself is really cool, but I constantly am losing the little handheld vacuum that we currently have. So the fact that this one has a set home is really, really smart. And honestly, that hand vac might be the most impressive part of this package for me. I have a little Shark hand vac, and it absolutely, pun intended, mops the floor with that thing. I attached that little brushing attachment to it, and I cleaned a little bit of a very dirty spot on the rug right underneath this chair, and the suction was so strong, it was actually hard to push it forward. I ended up pulling it backwards, and you can see for yourself, it did a really, really impressive job of cleaning that rug. I think that the biggest downside of this thing, though, might be, for me, those replacement bags. Like I mentioned earlier, when the vacuum goes home, when you put your hand vac back in, it's going to empty those things out. And when it does that, it empties them out into this little bag. And it's going to hold quite a bit of dust. I'm sure it could get kind of impacted in there, whatever you're vacuuming up. It's going to hold a decent amount, but it is meant to be disposable, which I really do not like. It would be really cool if this bag had some sort of a resealing technology, a Ziploc of some sort. You could open it up, dump it in your trash can, and seal it back up. But instead, you're going to be buying replacements. Now, I don't see online anywhere the exact replacements for this vacuum, and that may be because this thing is still not actually like fully released yet. We're looking at May the 16th for it actually coming out. I'm filming this at the end of April. But I did go to Amazon and I looked up some similar bags, and you can see ones that are very similar, $16, $17, $18 for a pack of them. It's not super expensive, but it is a little bit annoying for me to know that I'm going to have to continually buy these bags. All right, so all that being said, what is my final verdict on the DEEBOT T30S, in this case, combo version of the T30S family? It's honestly complicated, right? In terms of just the vacuuming, I think that it did pretty well. It definitely has outperformed the much cheaper Wise Robot Vacuum. You're talking about a device, though, that's usually $300. This thing can be had for just the vacuum around $1,000. So it should be outperforming it, and it does. Like I said earlier, it's not leaving behind the clumps of fur that the Wise Robot Vacuum normally does with the very lightweight Australian Shepherd fur. In terms of the mopping, it's, I think, about what I was expecting. I didn't think this thing was actually going to be able to, like, really scrub the floor. That's not what it's doing. It really is like running that Swiffer over the floor. It's going to pick up some dirt, pick up some grime. It's going to look better. But if you need a deep clean, you're still going to be getting out your mop and your bucket and your cleaner and doing it that way. What really sets this thing apart for me, and this is often true with these like really premium products, it's the fit and finish. It's the bells and whistles. And if that stuff is important to you, you're going to really enjoy this thing. The fact that it does auto empty itself, the fact that it does have a pretty darn powerful hand vac as well, right there integrated in. You're not going to lose your hand vac because it's got its home. It's right there emptying itself, a little storage bin for accessories. It's the fit and the finish, right? Like, it just is a more polished product than what you're going to get for cheaper prices. And I kind of find myself enjoying the voice activation. Just walking by and telling it, clean the kitchen, clean the living room, and it just does that without me even having to pull my phone out, I think is really convenient. I thought that maybe it would be annoying to me to have a separate app from the Wise app because I use their cameras, I use their thermostat, and the vacuum's right there inside it. But I don't even have to take my phone out with this thing. I can just talk to it, and it's going to do what I need it to do, and that is really impressive. I would say that if you're in the market for one of these robot vacuums and you've got the money to spend, I think you can definitely make the argument that it's worth it to get this very premium vacuum. Now, if you don't want to spend $1,000, there are much cheaper options that you could go with. I would still recommend the one from Wise. It's been great for me. And again, for the fact that I got it for $150 and you can often see it at that price in some places, I think for most people, that's going to be a better option. Most people do not need a $1,000 robot vacuum. But if, again, you're looking for something super premium, I think that this is a pretty good way to go. Now, guys, I do want to make it very clear that this robot vacuum was sent out to me by Ecovacs, and this is a sponsored video. Now, there's going to be a couple of links in the description down below for you to go purchase this device if you should like to do that. These should be affiliate links, which means if you click them and make a purchase, I will earn commission off of that. And there might be a promo code or two down there as well to get some sort of a discount off of this vacuum to bring that, let's be honest, pretty darn high price down just a little bit. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.